So I have my Facebook page set to expire on October the 3rd. I've had to change that because there's an event taking place that I was asked to participate in, and I needed to get some information. I'm not a Facebook fan. In fact, the more that I consider using Facebook in terms of what it offers, I realize I'm also compromising freedom of speech and certain freedoms in order to use this company's platform. But I'm going to use this platform. I hope to get rid of this thing October the 1st. I'm looking for alternative ways to say what I want to say, but for the time being, I'm going to say what I have to say this morning on Facebook. You know, as I was asked to participate in the Olympic conference coming up this Saturday, I was contacted by Paula Lonegran. She's the vice chairman of the Republican Party here in Pierce County. And I also spoke with Johnny Walker, who is the president of the conference. And it's kind of I'm flattered to have been asked. And, all week long, I've been thinking about how do I do this without seeming angry and, quote unquote, the angry black man. And, or like my daughter said, Dad, do you ever feel like you're the token black serving the white folks? And I said, no. And I explained it to her, and she accepted my answer. I'm an American first. Now let me qualify that statement. I was listening to Larry Elder yesterday, and he played a snippet from two black men who were calling him an Uncle Tom, and one of them used some profanity which didn't air on the show. Another one said, "You're not a brother. You're not even a brother. I don't even want to call you a brother." So I was listening to these two people, and I get so upset because I think about that type of black person, and I go, I don't want to be your brother. My family doesn't represent you at all. How I was raised doesn't represent you at all. You see, I was raised in the ghetto of Rochester, New York. My mother raised 7 kids by herself. I have no idea how she did that. My father left her for a man. So her 5 sons had to grow up with this stigma. We didn't have food sometimes. We rarely had enough clothes. We sat in the dark because the electric bill wasn't paid. We walked to school in the snow, having no electricity, no heat in our house. And we went to school every day, 6 feet of snow. It didn't matter. Mama struggled. She struggled hard to keep her family together. I grew up in the 70s. I saw the race riots as a child. I know what poor is in terms of American poor. I have a brother who died in prison because he never escaped the mentality of being raised in the ghetto and not having to live without. He was a career criminal, and he paid a price for it. I have another brother who's currently in prison. We grew up hard. It was difficult. So when I hear these two black men speak on Larry Elder's little snippets, calling him an Uncle Tom and throwing him under the bus because he doesn't believe what they believe, it makes me so angry. And here's why. I knew as a child I was not going to be black and poor. I left Rochester, New York when I was 17 years old. I came to the Pacific Northwest and I created a life for myself, and I've had some problems. I've stood before judges and I've made some mistakes. I've done drugs and had to suffer the consequences. I grew up without a father. I had no role model, which is a pandemic in many communities, not just black. I decided I was going to take advantage of whatever I could. I was going to face racism and bigotry and whatever else I had to deal with in order to raise my kids in an environment whereby they didn't think that they had to be poor and they didn't think of themselves as black. I raised my children to be who they were. And every one of them is doing very well. So as I sit here and look at Black Lives Matter, and I try not to be angry, I sit here and go, why are we having the conversation they want us to have? Let's have the conversation about being an American citizen. I had a person say to me recently, well, Jeff, I'm not too familiar with a lot of black issues. And I said, neither am I. I could care less. I have to deal with life issues. It has nothing to do with being black. When I listen to these NBA players, these multimillionaires and these Hollywood folks who are black and who have made millions of dollars off of the system that the United States gave birth to, when I listen to these people, I sit here and I go, you people are clueless. And then when I see the black folks out here marching because Black Lives Matter, which is, I sit here and I just lose my mind because I'm an American citizen first, period. I'm a patriot of this country. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in the Declaration of Independence, and I believe that America has overcome a lot of obstacles. There has always been a voice in this nation to try to bring this nation down. It's just simply our turn to fight that voice. We don't hear nothing about Chinese lives matter, Irish lives matter, Puerto Rican lives matter. Nobody's out here talking about white lives matter. This whole concept that poor old black people have just been so wrong and so treated. You know, some of these people that are getting shot out here by the police officers, these are some dangerous people. If I was a police officer, I'd be trying to go home at night. I support the police. I don't support bad cops, and neither should you. I don't support black people, and neither should you, that are criminals. Nobody's talking about the black folks who are killing each other on a daily basis in Chicago. Nobody's talking about the black babies that are born in New York City faster than the black babies that are born. Nobody's talking about that. So when you talk about Black Lives Matter, to me, I sit here and go, this is just a front for something much bigger. And if we don't put a stop to it, as an American citizen, fighting for the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, if we don't put a stop to this, how far will this go? I worked hard to overcome my mistakes. So has this nation. I've worked hard to not be what I was supposed to be, but to be who I wanted to be. That's the ideal about America. I've worked hard to represent for my children, who I've been their father their whole lives. Every single one of them call me dad, and they've known me all of their lives. I've worked hard to do that. I've worked hard to be married and to have a wife now going on 30 plus years. I've worked hard to do those things. I've started reading books and I educated myself about the history of this nation, what it stands for, the ideal behind it. I sit here and I look at how I'm a person who represents the folks who fought for freedom, not slavery. I am not a product of the slave trade. I'm not a product of slavery. I'm a product of freedom. And I honor the people whose lives were dedicated to fighting for freedom. And I'm not just talking about the slave trade. I'm talking about the Constitution of the United States of America and the ideal that you could be free. I understand racism and I understand bigotry, whether it be in the Asian community, whether it be in the black community, whether it be in the white community. It is a failure of humanity. So I'm sick up to here with Black Lives Matter. I don't want to have their conversation. I want to have the conversation that represents the American people, the ones who fought and are still fighting for this ideal. So I was flattered to be asked. Now I'm sitting here all week trying to figure out how not to be angry and pissed off as I speak about what's important to me, as I represent my children, my wife, my family, and the woman who raised me. I'm not a ghetto child. I'm an American child who decided for himself that I wasn't going to be what I was supposed to be according to the Democrat Party. See, I have this philosophy that if you call yourself an African American, you're just basically accepting your slavery to the Democrat Party. I refuse to do that. I'm a conservative. I will support Republican ideals, and I'm sick to death of Republicans being afraid to stand up. People of faith, stop being afraid. Your voice is louder than Black Lives Matter. Stop living in fear. Stand up for this nation. And don't do it because of the color of your skin. That's just stupid. Do it because of freedom, liberty, and the right to pursue happiness. Do it for those reasons. You know what? I'm never going to stop doing this. I've been doing this for 40 years. You know, when I think about this movie right here, I ask a lot of you folks, have you seen this movie, Uncle Tom? No. I get this answer, no. This movie right here has been the hallmark of my life for 45 years. I cannot encourage you enough to get this movie and watch it, because for the first time, somebody has put together a voice loud representing conservative Black Americans. Larry Elder's done that. You need to watch this movie. It's about time. All right, I got another call here at 6:30. I'm going to put another website together because I'm not going to stop doing this. I'm an American first. I'm a child of God, absolute. And I'm a patriot to this country. Thanks.